so now that we have all of our pieces assembled, let's get ready to put it together. Now, if you want to make the one with the embossed stars without the lighting, you would simply start by gluing this flat down, and then you would layer the other pieces exactly the same as the lit version. I'm going to show you how to do the lit version just because there's a little bit of technique to putting the lights for the stars in. Now, these lights that I have here are actually just from our local dollar store. I ordered a pair of tiny light, or a set of tiny lights in September to do this, and they're still on order. So rather than delay this project any longer, I wanted to keep going with it. So I just got a set from the dollar store, and we'll carry on. Now, before you put your tiny lights in and get too far ahead, make sure you put batteries in, turn them on, make sure that they work properly. You'll notice that I put some double-sided tape in there just to glue the lights down, just to basically hold them in place. And what I'm doing, there doesn't need to be tidy because none of this is going to be seen. I'm just tacking the lights down so that they're scattered evenly throughout the background. I don't want to have a bunch of lights in one spot and then blank space in another. So I will finish this and be back. Right, that is done. So like I said, it doesn't need to look pretty. The main thing that I was focusing on is making sure that the individual lights, and it's easy to see exactly where their lights are because there's a little bulkness to where the lights are. I just want them scattered around. I don't want them all in one spot. I don't want to have a ton in one spot and none in another. So I have my die cut sky with the gold vellum on the back. I have some foam tape on the back of it. Now the foam tape I have is about a ½ inch wide, and because I didn't want to block that much of the die cut stars, I cut it in half and glued it to the back. And I wanted to give some dimension behind where the stars were because I wanted to make sure that there was space for those lights. I didn't want this to be super lumpy, and so I only put the adhesive around the edges. I don't need to have it in the center because I don't want to block out the lights. I'm also going to put some strips of tape in the bottom here so that as I'm layering the different layers, it stays dimensional. All right, so that's good. Next step is to add my mountains. And I think I'm going to put them about right there. So I want to make sure to take the backing off my tape. So the particular foam tape that I got is actually fairly thin, and for this particular project I wanted it to be a little bit thicker, so I ended up layering them on top of each other, and I also ended up making sure that I have all my foam tape on the back of my pieces ready to go, so I wasn't fiddling with that while I was videotaping. Right about there. Now, as I'm building these layers, I want to make sure to build this foam part as well because I want to keep building up. And you can use more foam tape than this if you need to. For what I'm doing, I found this to be enough. I'm using the tape because for the size of these pieces, it's a lot easier to deal with than a bunch of dots. If you only have foam pop dots, that's totally fine. You can absolutely use them. Oh, 1 second. Almost forgot to add my trees. Let's put that on the side. So I'm taking one of my dark set of die cut trees. My scissors was around here somewhere a second ago. I want these scissors here because they're sharper. And I'm going to cut them apart. And I don't need to put the glue all the way up to the top because some of this is going to be on top of this part here. So I'm just going to hide that seam. And then, because I don't necessarily want just one tree in there, I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to put them on this side. Now I want to put them so that it looks like they're coming off of my diorama, so I'm going to take that edge and I'm going to cut it so that it will fit nice and close to the edge. There we go. And I'm using the same glue that I used to stick it together, stick all my die cuts together earlier. And what I think I'll do is I'll leave the cap off so that I'm not constantly putting it on and taking it off. Now I don't necessarily have to wait for that to dry, because as I'm layering things up, it will end up drying. Put that guy down right there. And now I'm going to use my lighter set of trees. Only reason for that is I want to have a little bit of color variation between the trees. So I'm going to take that guy off of there, and I think I'm going to cut this right here. And it works out that that goes right on top of there. And I only know that because I've already made this a couple times, so I know where to do my cuts. For doing this the first time, obviously you would lay it down and make sure that you're cutting in the right spot before you actually do the cutting. There we go. I'm going to take this guy and put him in here. And you can see that I'm not putting glue over the entire thing. I'm only putting glue basically down the center of my die cut. It doesn't matter if any of these pieces flip up, because it just ends up making it look a little bit more like a natural tree. Now I'm going to put this piece on here. But before that, oops, this tape is super, super sticky. Before that, I'm going to take some tape and add it to this one here so that I've got it at the right dimension. There we go. This particular one is going to be towards the bottom here. There we go. Perfect. Now I've got my other trees here. I am going to cut them. And I do end up rounding the pieces so that it's not straight edges that don't look natural. I want to kind of keep it with the look of the die cut piece there. Put that there. Cover up that seam there. I'm going to put this one in the corner. So because we've taken the time to die cut everything before assembling, this takes no time at all. It comes together super, super easily. Now I'm going to put my snowman there, and I only have to put glue down that bottom part because it's only being glued to this here. It's raised above that, so it doesn't get glued there. And you could, if you wanted, put some foam tape in there and have the snowman pop up from there, but I didn't necessarily want to. All right, so that is glued in place. I'm gonna set that or leave that to dry for a second or a couple minutes, and then we're gonna add a little bit of texture paste to the front here and make some snow down here.